Well, winter has finally settled into Northern California here. It's dark and wet, and it made me think, I guess it's time to start playing some Christmas tunes. So a few days ago I was talking to an old friend of mine, I've known him for 10, 15 years probably, Doug Young, who has put together a really cool book, a DADGAD Christmas. And we're going to be taking a look today at a lesson from here, and I would encourage you to pick up the book that you can get at either Doug's website, DougYoungGuitar.com, or Amazon. You can have Amazon send it off to you. And Doug has a CD that is free download at his site, so you can hear him play all of these things. And we're going to take a look. Some of the arrangements that he has in here are great because they're just really simple. Play a few chords, play the melody to the song, and just learn a little bit about DADGAD. Learn how to play a C chord, a G chord. And some of these chords are going to have some unusual sounds in them because of notes that are in there that you might have not normally. So we're going to play chords that have extra notes in them and not really worry about what they are. So our F chord is going to sound a little different as well. C chord might even sound like this. So DADGAD tuning started by Davy Graham back in the early 60s on a discovered when he was trying to play some modal tunes, some Celtic type songs, and is done by tuning the two E strings down to Ds. So it's similar to double drop D, but tuning the second string down to A as well. So we still have the same range of notes on the guitar, 2 octaves from D to D. We just have a slightly different relationship, whereas standard tuning we have fourths and a third. In the case of DADGAD, we have a fifth at the bottom, then a couple of fourths, and then a second. 2 notes that are right next to each other. Can even have them a half step apart. So, the first thing I want you to do though is take a look, listen to Doug's playthrough of All Through the Night. That's what we're going to take a look at first. And the tablature, you can either download the PDF that I have with this and start looking at it, and the things you want to think about, or you can of course have Doug's book, but that has some of the answers to it that I'm hoping you'll discover sort of on your own here. And that is what we're going to try to do is work on logical ways of fingering some of these chords. Now most of the times you're going to play a C chord with your first, second, and third fingers because you're going to need your fourth finger for notes up higher more commonly than you're going to need it for notes below. And you are going to have to get used to playing a G in the bass at the 5th fret with your little finger while you play other notes, while you reach for other notes back with your first finger. So that's two of the standard things that happen in DADGAD. Anyway, take a look at All Through the Night, and in the next segment I will play through it, just kind of exactly what he has in there, and we'll start talking about fingerings that work here. Then we're also going to talk about embellishing it and adding in little arpeggios and other notes that are just to dress it up a little bit, starting with the bare bones arrangement and then working on arpeggios. Also, a really useful thing, if you're not really good at this yet, you gotta really learn for mellow songs like this, or mellow's not the right term, but to play 4 notes, up to 4 notes, not together, to do a quick arpeggio. I call it a roll, but right here I'm playing a C chord, and you're going to want to hear those notes individually, so slightly separate them, and you'll hear that all over this song. So it's something you really have to practice a lot if you're not very good at it yet. And the way to get into that, I've got other lessons that talk about this, but a brief rundown of that is you don't want to think of it as 4 notes individually hit and you're trying to do that faster. What you're trying to do is think of them as more together, but you're slightly delaying each one. So practice just having your thumb and your index finger play a little bit apart, not together. Just separate them by the tiniest bit to where you can barely hear. Then do the same thing with your index and middle finger. So you're kind of thinking of just pulling them, each one trailing a little bit, and then branch it out into all 4 fingers. It's a really important technique that we'll have that's going to happen here. Okay, so we've talked about some of the chord shapes you're going to see. You've got the music, take a look at it, and in the next segment I will kind of walk through what I'd suggest fingering wise as far as the best way to play All Through the Night. Let's take a look at this and see what kind of materializes as I just kind of walk my way through the shapes. So looking at the tab, we start off with notes out of a C chord. That looks like a good, because we see a note coming up at the 2nd fret, we would not want to start with our first finger on one of these notes. So this would be a good place to use your 2nd and 3rd fingers. And roll that chord a little bit if you can, and then your first finger is available to play the B that's coming up. And very simple there. The same 2 fingers now might as well stay at the 3rd fret for our 3 notes out of the F chord, and then your 4th finger's in good shape to play that.